Good evening, Mayor. Can we do a mic check, please?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
And thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Larson Bennell, can we do a mic check, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can, thank you. Councilmember Kimling, can we do a mic check, please?
Yep, mic check, mic check.
Thank you. Councilmember Nappin, can we do a mic check, please? No. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Constance, can we do a mic check, please?
Are you able to hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Chalfie, can we do a mic check, please?
Hi, this is Jill. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Zimmerman, can we do a mic check, please?
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Yep. Test.
Okay, we're at 7 o'clock. Are we ready?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the February 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Shawnee City Council. I'm Mayor Michelle Dissler. I'll be chairing this meeting. First, I'd like to ask how many are in attendance from the public at tonight's meeting for the record.
There are 5.
Thank you. I'll now do a roll call at this time. Councilmember Thomas,
Present?
Councilmember Zimmerman,
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins,
Present.
Councilmember Kemling,
Present.
Councilmember Larson Bennell,
Present.
Councilmember Nappen,
Present.
Councilmember Constance,
Present.
Councilmember Chafee.
Present.
Thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some ground rules. I want to make sure all participants keep their devices and/or microphones muted until I ask for comments. We'll use the raise hand feature in Zoom so I can recognize you. Just like always, I'll ask for a motion on each item. Please raise your hand and wait to be called on before stating the motion so we can get an accurate record for the minutes. Next, I'd like to go over some emergency procedures for the meeting. City Council, Council Committee meetings will continue to be held via Zoom. During the meeting, I'll offer the opportunity for public input. If you'd like to speak to the council at any of those times, please come forward to the designated microphone. I'll ask you to state your name and address for the record, and then you may offer your comments. So that members of the audience can hear your comments, I'd ask that you speak directly into the microphone. By policy, comments are limited to 5 minutes. No person may speak more than twice to any one agenda item. Only comments related to city business are permitted. Comments and remarks that are personal, impertinent, or slanderous are not permitted. Disruptive acts are not permitted. Face coverings are required when speaking into the microphone to help protect one another. After you're finished, please sign the form on the podium to ensure we have an accurate record of your name and address. Additionally, comments can be submitted to the entire governing body via email at governingbody@cityofshawnee.org. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they would like to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve, Nappen.
Second, Constance.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Sorry, I just lost my place. Next item on the agenda is mayor's items. I have one item tonight, which is the Engineers Week proclamation. From the Office of the Mayor, whereas engineers provide the talents and skills necessary to analyze and solve complex problems and create the infrastructure essential for the high quality of life which citizens of Shawnee, Kansas enjoy. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry of Shawnee, Kansas is vital to the efficient planning, design, construction, and operation of the public infrastructure, which includes water, sanitary and storm sewers, streets and highways, bridges, public buildings, communications, and electricity, and natural gas distribution. And whereas the health, safety, welfare, comfort, and economic vitality of this community, as well as the success of various citywide construction projects, and whereas engineers address the major technological challenges of our time, from rebuilding towns devastated by natural disasters to designing infrastructure that will take City of Shawnee through the 21st century. And whereas there exists in Kansas City, Missouri metropolitan area, one of the nation's largest collection of engineering firms, which are known and recognized worldwide as leaders in their profession. And whereas the Western chapter of the Missouri Society of Professional Engineers, in partnership with the Eastern chapter of the Kansas Society of Professional Engineers, are celebrating the 70th Annual Engineers Week through a virtual ceremony on February 25th. And whereas the week of February 22nd, 2021 has been designated worldwide as the 70th Annual Engineers Week, now therefore I, Michelle Disler, the mayor of the city of Shawnee, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of February 22nd, 2021 as Engineers Week, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing quality infrastructure and to recognize the significant contributions which our engineers make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Thank you. And I'd like to take this time to thank Doug Whitaker, Public Works Director, and all of our other engineers on staff who work hard to make Shawnee such a special place. And I did just think of one other item I do want to mention tonight. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., we are going to have a community conversation with the McCallop family at 6 p.m. and it is a free event. You do have to go register, but it's out there on Facebook and the website and everything. So very, very, very excited about that if you are able to join us. Next item is appointments. Item number 1 is to consider appointments to the Planning Commission. There were 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission, and I am recommending Janice Lukey and Joe Van Welhageman to fill the unexpired terms. One motion, Councilmember Jenkins.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to have this separated out where we vote on each one of these individuals separately. And I do have some concerns with these 2 applicants and volunteers with the Planning Commission. Although they seem to have some very good credentials, those may not be the best for the Planning Commission. I'm basing that on information received. These candidates are pretty politically partisan. They seem to have some very strong feelings on which way they want to go with the development of Shawnee. And I don't think that would really present a very fair and impartial review as we go through the process. And as you know, I'm very concerned that we take into consideration the views of the citizens of this community. And I know it's kind of been a problem here of late with the Planning Commission. There's been some less than supportive actions on the part of the Planning Commission when listening to comments from the public. Some of it was caused me some significant dismay with the way the lack of respect shown to some of our citizens. And I'm concerned that if people are politically motivated and partisan and have some very strong feelings on which direction they want to go, we may be furthering this issue of disrespecting our citizens and yielding instead to personal agendas. So I'm very concerned about both these candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will first, does anyone from the audience have any questions or comments on that item?
Yes, Mayor.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, Chris Durbin, 7412 McCoy Street. First, I'd like to say welcome to Councilmember Thomas and Councilmember Jenkins. It's great to see you here in these chambers today. This is a really important process. It kind of sets the framework for, a lot of the decisions that you inevitably have to make here. And there's not a lot of visibility into how these appointments occur, who's applying, what the pool of candidates looks like, and there's no review. One person appoints and the council gets to decide, often blindly. I've spoken about this before, and personally did a little bit of research myself this time. And, you know, this isn't, I don't want to make personal attacks. I personally feel like what I've read and learned about these two candidates is that they're probably not the best fit, and I don't believe they represent the values that we in Shawnee have for our city. And I think it would behoove us to enhance this process so that you folks, these council members, you have the opportunity to actually speak to these candidates. Policy Statement 72 doesn't necessarily forbid it. It tells you what you have to do to appoint and approve these candidates, but nowhere in that statement says you can't interview them. I would encourage you to do so. We interview applicants for rezoning. We interview applicants for, key positions within our city staff. Why can't we interview these candidates and nominees for our planning commission? They're probably more important than any of those other items I mentioned, but often they come into these chambers with an application that's always perfectly worded for the position they're applying for. They're always well qualified, but you don't really know anything about them. You don't know what their vision is for the city. You don't know what they believe in. You're just accepting on blindness that they're going to do what's right for the city. And I think that's why we've gotten into the trouble with some of these boards and commissions that we've had in the past. So I'd encourage you to look at using Policy Statement 72 as it's written to take the opportunity that I think you have the right to use to interview and question these candidates that are before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak to this item?
Mayor Disler, point of order.
Yes.
Do we have to make a motion to split the candidates, and what exactly are we expecting public comment on right now? Is it on individual candidates? Is it about the process? I'm a little bit unclear about the process at this point.
So normally my assumption would be the public comments would be about the individual people if there were an issue, not the process. This process was put in place long before I was ever even a city council person. What I have added to the process is a questionnaire. Before that was never required. So I have a set of questions and feel the need to interview, and I don't think it's fair to make the statement that I don't even know these people, because I did know the prior council members as well. I do not base decisions on political values. I base my decisions on their resume, their questions, their answers to the questionnaire, any interview that I have with them, so on and so forth. If the council, I don't know if this is a charter ordinance or what, I'd have to ask the city attorney to speak to that. If the council wants to change the process in the future, that is something they can do. But at this time, it is, the mayor's role to make the recommendation, and then the council either approves or denies. And at the time that these particular individuals applied, that was the process. So I don't think it's fair to change the process in the middle of the current appointments. But if it's something the council wants to discuss in the future, City Attorney Ellis, Rainey, or City Manager Sunderman, is this something that
Mayor, this is Nolan. I can respond to that. I believe it was, a year, 2 years ago, we reviewed the policy statement, kind of in the way that we advertise for these positions, kind of keeping these in the hopper. So when a vacancy comes up, whether known in advance in terms of a term or unknown in terms of a resignation or somebody moving, then we would have applicants in the hopper. And so presented this as a slate that we try to do twice a year in terms of when those terms were known. As mayors, as you mentioned, you kind of doing this kind of questionnaire to get a little bit additional information, which is in the agenda packet. And again, trying to give the council a little bit additional information on the individual. So we tried to increase that. If the council would like to review that, we can go back and add that to a future committee meeting if we would like to change that process.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, this is Ellis. You were asking about where it comes from. The provisions are part of our municipal code. It's in Title II. It provides that the members of the Planning Commission shall be appointed by the mayor and with the consent of council. And we've always in the past interpreted that to be a majority of those present and voting.
Thank you. And again, this shouldn't be a political position. They are presented with projects that are put in front of them, and they check the boxes on whether or not they meet the requirements of the city of Shawnee. So I don't know anything about these people politically. I know how they answered the questions that I asked. So I'm not sure what type of further interview process, but I guess that would be for a future committee meeting. I have Councilmember Constance, Councilmember Knappen, Councilmember Jenkins, and Councilmember Larson-Bonnell. Councilmember Constance.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to express that I think for this Planning Commission vote this evening, when I was looking at the packet, I was actually really impressed with the experience that both applicants bring. Our first applicant working at Black and Beach with a BS in civil engineering. I really appreciated her view on staying informed, knowing how the actions fit with development plans, understanding regulatory requirements. I found that really impressive. I was also pleased to see that our first applicant attended the Johnson County Citizens Academy. I think that shows involvement and interest in understanding the processes that our Planning Commission would go to, and I think that's above and beyond. As for the second candidate, working in the Federal Reserve for 38 years, I think is a really impressive resume, if you will. I also liked his notes about better balance between commercial and residential and needs in the western and eastern areas. I personally don't know whether these two candidates are Democrats, Republicans, independents, or something else on the spectrum. I don't think it's applicable in this particular case. I am happy to vote on them separately or together and even revisit how we do this. But for tonight's meeting, frankly, I was impressed with the two candidates that the mayor brought forth, regardless of their political affiliation. And honestly, that piece is not important to me in the role of a planning commissioner. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And I also want to mention, since you mentioned the Johnson County, she's also a graduate of our community emergency response team through the fire department with all the FEMA training and such. Councilmember Knappen?
Yeah, so normally I support the right of the mayor to make her appointments, and I believe it's our job to support the mayor's good judgment and approve her nominees. But there is a reason why the council is asked to approve the nominees. In this case, honestly, frankly, based on some of the actions that I've kind of witnessed, I don't have the same level of confidence in the mayor's judgment. And so while I don't have any specific concerns that I want to share publicly about either of these nominees, I think they're good citizens. I'm sure they are. I appreciate their willingness to serve. However, I have heard some potential concerns brought in the last day. And so I would like to look into it further before I'm a yes on this. So in this case, I just can't give a stamp of approval tonight until I learn a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins, and then Councilmember Larson-Bonnell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to point out a couple other things as well. I've been on this council for 5 years, and we've done several of these planning commissioner appointments. I've also encouraged a number of people who have come to me talking about they would like to serve this community and be on the planning commission. And I've had them send in their packets and try to get themselves under consideration. And amazingly, not one of those people have ever been even considered. And the feedback I got was that they were too conservative, and they may not support the development of this city that's being proposed at a planning commission meeting. So just, I'd like to point it out that this has been a consideration by those in opposition multiple times. And I'm getting kind of tired of the double standard that we're discussing here tonight, because this is definitely a double standard. I don't think that we need people on the planning commission that are so ideologically disposed that they can't make an unbiased decision. As you know, I'm not 100% for just any and all development in this community to come in with all the freebies that we give away. It's gotten to the point where it's really kind of rampant at this point. We're giving away almost everything to development interests right now. I don't see anybody holding the line. The planning commission, we're seeing all these 9-0 votes, 10-0 votes, and this kind of thing. Nobody's even asking a question. I want some discerning people on my planning commission. I want some people who are going to push back and ask questions, and some that'll be a little tougher on maintaining the standards that are published by this city is what we expect from developers in this community, and what kind of materials and that we expect from them, how many parking spaces we expect from them, any kind of road improvements, and just all those things that go into examining a new development proposed by a developer in this community. And I'm not seeing that happening a lot of times. It seems to be a rubber stamp approach, and that's making me kind of upset. As you might be able to tell from my voice, I am a little upset about it. I'm also upset about planning commissioners who sit up here on this dais and trash city council people. I have a real problem with that. That's completely out of their lanes, and I'm not really looking for more people that are going to join that chorus. So I guess we got a little bit of a problem here, because these people, the individual, Mr. Wallingham, made it clear that he thinks that Shawnee, he's disgusted with Shawnee because we didn't build a community center and we don't have a city center project, a civic center project like they have over in Lenexa. You know, that's a problem. If you think your community's messed up because we don't run out willy-nilly and put in new community centers when 72% of our city's population voted no, and I think it's time to step back and reassess where you're at. If that's the way this person wants to approach development in this community, I'm not sure I want them approaching it, quite frankly. So there's some issues right there. It's time to play fair and square, guys, and it's time to put some people on this planning commission that are going to be discerning, they're going to be unbiased, they're going to look at these developments with a really clear eye and make some determinations of whether that's a development we want, and that this development's going to be done correctly. It's going to have the right number of right size square footage and the apartments that are going proposed in there. It has it meets the golden rule requirements. I don't see where our planning commission is even looking at the golden rule on most of these cases, because we have stuff being proposed right next to people's houses. It's ridiculous. It doesn't fit. And then it comes to the city council to say no, and that should have been taken care of. That kind of stuff should be taken care of at the planning commission level. There's a lot of power vested in that planning commission. And as has come out in my discussions with the city manager about, can we remove one of these planning commissioners? Guess what? It's harder than pulling teeth, because there's a lot of statutes that protect them as the state put together the criteria and the procedures and process for planning commissions to exist in the community. So that when we put these people in here, I'd like to make sure that we got somebody that's going to do the job. I think these people are both competent. This is not a slam against their competence. This is a slam against, I feel that they're both too strongly ideological to serve in this position. There are many other volunteer positions in this community where the ideology issue would not be too big a deal. But when it comes to the planning commission, I think it is a big deal. And so I'm stating myself and putting that forward right now.
Thank you. And I hear you, Mr. Jenkins, but to understand my viewpoint, neither of these people have said anything like this to me. I'm not sure where this information is coming from, and I can't base decisions on something somebody said. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know how to quantify what is being said, because those aren't the responses that I was given to the questions. So I don't know what to do with that. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And in a future committee meeting, we are discussing a consistent process to be able to remove members. I completely agree with you. The dais is not a place for political statements. But at the same time, I need some type of proof of of these claims. I can't just go, I can only go by what has been said to me and the questions that have been answered in the way they've been answered to me. Councilmember Chafee and then Councilmember Larson Bonnell.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I believe that our planning commission has done a good job in my experience, and we look to them for their professional opinion, to look at the technical aspects of a project, to see how they conform with our city codes, requirements, regulations, to look at it from a technical perspective, check the boxes, and then pass it along to us. And then it's up to us to decide whether to move forward on a development. So in my experience, our planning commission has done that. And I think both of these candidates do look incredibly competent and have impressive resumes. And I think that they would both be very good planning commissioners. And I appreciate them throwing their name in the hat and volunteering to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Larson Bonnell.
First, a quick fact check. The community center vote was not 72% of the population that voted no. It was 72% of those who voted, which was closer to 35%. So really, we're talking about 25% of the population that voted no. Now, I'm not saying this because I think that the community center was popular and that it was ever going to pass. But I want to be clear that there were some people that really were excited about the community center, period. Just like there were people that really weren't excited about the community center, and that's just the way it is. I am incredibly concerned with the line of questioning that we are going down with these nominees at this point. First of all, we do have an interview process. It was implemented by Mayor Dissler in the form of written interviews. We can absolutely use those as our interviews. So we have these great questions that were developed, and we get to read those and we get to read their answers. We can also all do our own independent research, and any one of us individually can reach out to these people and say, I have concerns, or can you tell me a little bit more about this? Right now, all that I'm hearing is they are partisan. I am very concerned about that label because partisan can go in two different directions. And one of the things we all need to keep in mind is that the Planning Commission has a very specific lane that they do stay in. And what their job is, they are in fact here to help with development. They are here to determine what kinds of development are appropriate for our city, not based on their own personal whims, but based on the things that the council have previously approved, such as a strategic plan, such as land use guidelines. So without very specific information saying, I'm going to get on Planning Commission and the reason that I'm doing this is because I want to push through a community center. You're absolutely right. If I saw somebody that had said that somewhere, perhaps on social media or perhaps in an interview, I absolutely would not want that person to serve on Planning Commission. Just like I would not want the person to serve on Planning Commission who says, I am against apartments. We're going to stop apartments from being built and I'm going to help our community stop apartments. That would not be appropriate for a planning commissioner either. So unless somebody can bring some hard evidence of something that is very specific that shows beyond a reasonable doubt that these individuals are so compromised by their own individual views that they cannot serve in this role, I see no reason why we should not move these nominations forward. And with that, I would actually move for both nominations to move forward.
I second that motion.
Thank you. And I just also want to clarify too that I do find it a little concerning to me that we've had the packet since Wednesday, and yes, to Mr. Durbin's point, anyone can interview these candidates that wants to. It's not just me. It's my initial interview that's put into the packet. Anyone is free to interview these candidates. They've had since Wednesday, but then some individual reached out to certain council members today. And again, I have no proof of anything that's being said. So I have no way of knowing if it's somebody who has a bitter relationship with this individual. I don't know. I don't have anything other than what has been presented to me and the governing body that we've all had since Wednesday and the opportunity to clarify and interview. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Well, raise your hand so I can see, and I'll read them off. I have Councilmember Larson Bonnell, Councilmember Constance, Councilmember Chafee, Councilmember Zimmerman, and me. So we have 5. Motion passes. If any of you are listening virtually tonight, I would like to take the opportunity to thank you for your support of the community. Next item on the agenda is public items. Item number 1 is to consider ordinance number 3356, approving a 5th amendment to redevelopment agreement for the Prairie Pines project. Governing body approved a redevelopment agreement with Shawnee Associates LLC for the Prairie Pines Townhome project with 4 extensions. Due to delays in construction, market conditions, and other factors, the developer has not constructed or completed the commercial buildings. A 5th extension has been requested to complete of the project plan. An ordinance is required. I have one item. Recommended action is consider passing ordinance number 3356. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a
No.
motion.
Move to approve. Zimmerman.
Second, Larson Bonnell.
A motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is to consider adopting resolution number 1935, passing ordinance number 3357 for the acquisition of permanent and temporary construction easements related to the 75th Street project, Quivira to Schweitzer, project number 3481. This project is on the capital improvement program. Staff has identified easements that are needed to construct the project. A resolution and ordinance are required to begin the condemnation process. There are 2 recommended actions to consider. The first recommended action is to consider adopting resolution number 1935. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll accept Councilmember Jenkins.
Mayor? Yeah, it's kind of hard to get all these buttons pushed fast enough. Well, you can go a lot faster than I can reach out and play with this computer.
Sorry about that.
I just wanted to ask a question of staff here. This talks about temporary and permanent construction easements. Temporary ones don't bother me too much. I'm just concerned about the permanent ones. Are we going to be providing compensation for those easements?
Yes, this is Paul Lindstrom, Senior Project Engineer. Yes, you're correct. We have both the permanent in nature. About 95% of those are so we can put in a trail on the south side. We do not have adequate right-of-way to do that, but part of this project is to put sidewalk on the north side, which is currently only 4 foot, and put an 8-foot trail on the south side. So yes, these will all be, everybody will be compensated for every piece that we take, whether it's temporary or permanent.
Okay, are we receiving any pushback, Paul?
No, not yet. There's a lot of these are real small, within like a couple feet of the current right-of-way. I don't see any pushback. And a lot of these are businesses. So the reason to go straight to condemnation is that we had a hard time getting a hold of them in time to do this project. So, but they're very small easements. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Paul, appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see any further comments or questions. I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve. Zimmerman.
Second, Constance.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Second recommended action is consider passing ordinance number 3357. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Chafee, move to approve.
Second, Zimmerman.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is from the council committee meeting of February 1st, 2021. Item number 1 is consider ordinance number 3358, establishing a community police advisory board to assist the police department in policy development, education, and communication related to racial or other bias-based policing. Council committee recommended 8-0. The governing body pass an ordinance establishing a community police advisory board. Recommended action is consider passing ordinance number 3358. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Councilmember Thomas.
It seems like when we talked about it in committee that we had discussed changing the name or coming up with a name. Has it changed at all? That is a little bit different than what it was?
Yes.
Hi, this is Deputy Chief Mendoza. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, so we added the police component of that to make it more clear that
Okay.
it was specifically related to the police advisory board, not just the community advisory board.
Great. And so that's the final name.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Yes, Mayor, I think we had a really good discussion on this at the, in the council committee meeting, and I think we fleshed out pretty much all the issues with that, with the exception of the adding the police in there. So thanks for doing that. I think we're good to go on this.
Thank you. Okay, anyone from the audience would like to speak to this? I'm sorry, Councilmember Larson Manel.
Did we make a motion already? I'm sorry.
Yep, yeah, I think we did. You're right. Yes, you're right. We did.
Good.
Sorry.
No.
I didn't hear a motion.
I'm asking if we need
I
a
thought-
motion, because if we needed a motion, I was going to make it. And if I missed it, I really apologize.
I thought Councilmember
We need a
Zimmerman,
motion.
No, we didn't have a motion.
No.
sorry, I thought Councilmember Zimmerman made it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Move to approve?
Second, Constance?
Second.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is staff items. Item number 1 is to consider supplemental agreement number 1 to contract number 2019-082 with HNTV related to Monticello Road project number 3489. Governing body approved phase 1 of the project on February 8th, 2021. Supplemental agreement number 1 includes full-time construction, inspection, administration, additional design, utility coordination in the amount of $286,230 for revised contract amount of $541,010. Recommended action is to consider approving and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, Napa?
Second, Zimmerman.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is to consider bids, contract number 2021-020, Phase 2 for the Shawnee Mission Parkway Median Landscaping Project. Bids were received from one contractor on February 2nd, 2021. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Turf Design, Inc. in the amount of $154,620.44. Recommended action is consider approving and authorize the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, Zimmerman.
Second, Constance?
Second, Thomas.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 3 is to consider bids, award contract number 2021-21 for the 67th and Quivira Road Traffic Signal Improvement Project number 3503. This project's on the Capital Improvement Program. 5 bids were received. Staff's recommending Total Electric Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $357,199.50. Recommended actions consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak to this item?
No.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Jenkins.
Yeah. I'm just curious, just an item of curiosity. This, what are we gonna do with the old stoplight? I mean, this thing seems to work. I mean, is it just on its last legs? I don't really understand exactly what's happened where we need to replace it throughout this period, but I assume we need to because our smart guys told us we need to. But what are we doing with the old one? Are we gonna sell it off to some small town that would work great for them, or are we gonna put it in some other less traveled area of Shawnee, or do we have any plans for that?
Yeah, this is Kevin Manning, Transportation Manager. So when the old signal is taken down, more than likely we'll be salvaging some of the reusable parts, such as maybe the signal heads and some of the pedestrian items. The signal poles themselves will probably end up being sold for scrap metal. It's kind of, since basically the mast arm and the upright, a lot of times they're specifically designed for an intersection and they're aging anyway. There's not a lot of market for a different community to necessarily use those exact poles. So more than likely they'll be sold for scrap.
Okay, but you will be able to cannibalize some of the parts as replacement parts for other signal lights that we need maintenance?
Yes, that's something we always do whenever we have a project and we have wherever it is, we put a new signal in or new street lights, anything like that. We generally take the old equipment if it's reusable, and we do have an inventory for that, so we can use that as equipment to replace items that may fail in the future.
Okay, thank you. That satisfies some curiosity. What happens to those things when they move on to the happy hunting ground or whatever? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, Zimmerman.
Second, Chelsea.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 4 is to consider bids award contract number 2021-22 engineering services agreement with BHC related to the 2021 stormwater pipe repair project West number 3529. Governing body approved the additional stormwater funding for the 2021 stormwater pipe repair project. These bids were received. Staff's recommending BHC for engineering services in the amount of $171,063. Recommended actions: consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve.
Second, Zimmerman.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 5 is to consider contract number 2021-23 engineering services agreement with Lochner for the 2021 bridge repair program. This project's on the capital improvement program, and the governing body approved an additional $700,000 for more bridge repairs for 2021. Staff's recommending Lochner for engineering services an amount not to exceed $72,150. Recommended actions: consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, Knappen.
Second, Zimmerman.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 6 is to consider contract number 2021-024 with McConnell and Associates for the replacement of tennis courts, fencing, and court lighting at Listowel Park and Herman Laird Park. City participates in the interlocal purchasing system, TIPS, and National Cooperative Bidding Association, recommending awarding the contract to McConnell and Associates in the amount of $607,424. These priorities have been identified as the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Action: consider approving and authorize the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve.
Second, Chelsea.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay. Motion passes. Item number 7 is consider contracts number 2021-025, 2021-026 intergovernmental and enrichment agreements in the city of Lenexa related to Quivira Road Project 75th to 87th Street. City of Lenexa is completing a road project that is partially located in the city from 75th Street to the southern city limits. An intergovernmental agreement is necessary for the reimbursement to Lenexa for Shawnee's portion of the work. An enrichment agreement is required for the maintenance of a monument sign for the city of Lenexa. There are 2 recommended actions to consider. The first recommended action is to consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract with the city of Lenexa for reimbursement to their 2021 CARS project as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, Zimmerman.
Second, Larson Bonnell.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Second recommended action is consider approving and authorize the mayor to sign the contract with the city of Lenexa for an enroachment agreement as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, Zimmerman.
Second.
Second, Thomas.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous items. Item number 1 is to ratify the semi-monthly claims for February 22nd, 2021 in the amount of $3,476,625.83. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Jenkins?
Yes, I have a question on one of the items there that we are paying for our membership with the League of Municipalities. And Nolan, if you could get on and just kind of outline for us, one, how that amount is determined. I suspect it may have something to do with city size or whatever. And then also, what do we expect to get as a return on our investment from that?
Yes, Councilmember Jenkins, I apologize. I don't have the formula in front of me. I believe a large majority of that is based on the city population. And so they have a formula that they use in order to determine those membership dues for each city's based on that formula. And I can get that for you and send it out.
That won't be necessary. That just tells me how they determine it. And that's what I was wondering. I figured that's probably what they use, something along those lines. Could you share with us the benefits of being in the league and putting out this kind of expense, this kind of investment?
Yeah, I'm not sure kind of what information that you all receive from them. They do their weekly league news emails that kind of highlight some of the different issues and topics they're working on. The league is also the one that publishes the Kansas Government Journal. I believe that's delivered here to the city, but is usually in your mailbox. So that's some of the communication you might receive for them. On top of kind of their annual conference that they do, they also have various webinars and trainings that they do. And actually, our finance director, Don Cobby, helps with some of those trainings as well. But just kind of beyond COMA and CORA training, they do some kind of municipal finance training. And so do have a wide variety of kind of engagement and trainings for cities and elected officials across the state.
I got a funny feeling, Nolan, we pay for that training separately, though. Is that correct? I suspect there's a registration fee and all that stuff.
Yeah, it just depends on the issue or the training or the conference. So some of those are an additional fee. Beyond that, they do provide some policy development, advocacy issues in terms of lobbying and outreach with not only Topeka, but also for the National League of Cities and the federal delegation as well. So do coordination there. They also kind of serve as kind of a resource for city staff. And I know Ellis is on, and Don and Stephen and Caitlin as well. I know the league kind of serves as a resource too when you all have questions, really kind of that networking and association for us, kind of that information sharing and kind of clearinghouse for city staff as well as our city attorney. And feel free, Ellis or Caitlin or Don or others, if there's other things that you guys want to mention as well.
Yeah, thanks,
I think it's
Nolan.
useful.
I just have a couple other things. They actually were really helpful to us just this past year. They were kind of on the forefront of all the COVID issues coming down the pike, primarily through the federal government. And they had a lot of assistance for us with that. I think probably Don and Ellis can speak to that a bit more. But they are really helpful in regards to our, assisting Ellis with all the legal stuff that he has to work through. And then all of our, if we need any issues through the state federal or the state budget office or anything to that nature, we use them. I bet I utilize them probably weekly. I would say Ellis the same.
Thank you. I think it's kind of nice to know what we're paying for. I've never really heard anybody tell us what we're doing with the League of Municipalities, and it's kind of nice to just lay it out there. Because $28,000, that's a pretty good chunk of change for membership in an organization. So I thought it should be fleshed out. Thank you.
And Councilmember Jenkins, I'll make sure that you guys are signed up for the weekly league news as well. So you're getting that information as well. So make sure that you guys are signed up for that email blast.
Councilmember Nappen and then Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, quick question on this check register. Not a huge price tag, but I was curious. Probably for Nolan. We have a charge. I think it was for $30,600 for the we paid the Johnson County government. Typically, you see them provide us support and grants, and so that was a little out of the ordinary to me. I'm sure there's a good reason. I was just curious what we were paying the Johnson County government for on that.
I believe that's our payment for the police department's record management system. That's a regional records management system, and so we pay the county a portion of those fees.
Great, thank you, sir.
Councilmember Thomas.
Hi, Nolan, I talked with you earlier about this today, but I think it's worth shedding a little bit of light on. It's our payment to Shawnee Plaza Redevelopment LLC in the amount of $182,000 and indicates that this is a TIF distribution for the first one for 2021. That's a lot of money. Just would like to know on this particular project of Shawnee Plaza, when did that TIF start and when will it end?
Yeah, so the TIF was approved in 2013. It's a 20-year TIF, so that would run through 2033. I spoke with Don and he's ran some calculations. Again, these are projections. So again, this is just a projection. And Don, I think you were potentially it could pay off in 2028 or 2029. But again, to reiterate, that's a projection. So.
Yes, this is Don. That's the right number. I'll also say this one's a little bit different than a typical TIF where there's two equal payments just from property tax. We're paying $182,000 on this payment, but the next payment's quite a bit smaller. I would bet it's not more than $60,000 for the second payment because part of their money goes to paying off the bonds that they have. So their payments over the last 3 years have been a total annual $184,000, $147,000, then $193,000 last year. So if that gives you a little bit of an idea. So it's their one that's paid a lot in the first payment, but not much in the second. So.
Okay. It's interesting and for our listening public to hear, the magnitude of what the impact is. So appreciate your help today.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anyone from the audience would like to speak to this item?
No.
I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Miscellaneous council items. Does anyone on the council have an item they would like to discuss?
Yes, Mayor, I do.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Can't seem to get my hand raised thing to come up. Oh, there it is, finally. Okay, well, I don't need it now. I'm already on here, but just wanted to bring it up one more time. I've been bringing it up a lot. I've discussed it offline. I've discussed it online. I've discussed it just about every way I can discuss it. I want to see business from the floor put back on the damn agenda. We've been asking for this over and over and over again. I've called you personally, Mayor Disler. I've talked to Nolan Sunderman at some length about this. I brought it up in council meetings for I think the last 3 council meetings during miscellaneous council items, and for some reason we can't seem to move this thing forward. And it makes absolutely no sense that we don't have it on there. We allow people to come into the city hall here and to come into the council chambers and do proper distancing and wear their mask, and they get to comment on business on the floor. Why can't they, while they're here, offer up some comments to the city council? I think that is important to our transparency and good government. And I think that's one of our pillars, isn't it, for good government? So I'd like to have that back on the agenda starting the next meeting. And I'd like to, if we don't do that, I'd like to have some damn good reasons why we're not doing it.
Okay, Councilmember Thomas.
I would like to reflect what Eric has said. We get quite a bit, and it's increasing in number. Communication. People want to come back to the council and have business from the floor. They see it as being limiting, and I understand and I share that we don't necessarily. That's not a requirement of our city council, but I think it's a good process that we follow. And when we consider that kids are going back to school, churches are more open than they used to be, Walmart's packed out, Lowe's is home packed out. I think there's some way, and especially with our new upgrades, there's a way for us to be able to hold meetings here in the chambers where folks can come in. I would like, and I understand perhaps not everybody can, but I would like to see our council members return to the city council dais so that we can conduct meetings in front of those of whom elected us. I think it's an important statement to make. So that is certainly something I support as well.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience that would like to speak to this item?
No.
Thank you. Let's see. Item number 3 is to conduct an executive session for 30 minutes for the purpose of receiving attorney-to-client privilege communications for the purpose of discussion of preliminary acquisition of real property in accordance with KSA 754319B2 and 6 for the purpose of protecting the confidentiality in those communications with the discussions. At the conclusion of the executive session, the meeting will reconvene via Zoom, and I'm going to say a 30-minute recess. Is that adequate time, City Manager Centerman?
Yes, I believe so.
Don't we have to pass pass a motion to retire to executive session? I'm just curious. We always do that, and then we come back. Then we had to reconvene the meeting again. Are we not doing that tonight?
Yeah, that's my next step. I was just getting ready. I was just clarifying the time.
Right. It didn't show on the slide. Yeah, it didn't show on the slide here. Normally it's up there on the slide. I just thought maybe we're just not doing it tonight.
Oh, nope, sorry. That was my next question. I'll accept a motion.
Move to retire to executive session for 30 minutes.
Second, Thomas.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
I took about 30% of my juice to do one meeting. It was a shorter meeting. It didn't hold, the battery didn't hold up that well. 30% of my, well, I got them. I guess it break because I had 100% when I came, so, you know.
I'm doing my check.
Join.
Looks like everybody's back. So the next action is to conclude the executive session.
Move to conclude?
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, if there are no other, oh wait, first I need to reconvene the meeting. I will accept a motion to reconvene the meeting.
Move to reconvene.
Move to reconvene the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. If there are no other items, now I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to
Adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been
Hard
made.
time pulling one of those out of everybody.
Adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
So long, everybody.